Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our fourth and final session in our series. Today is Basic Money Management. We are so glad you're here with us this morning. My name is Chantel Mosley, and I am honored to be a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women for the Dallas Metropolitan Chapter. I am also the co-chair of the Economic Empowerment Committee, where we are delighted to bring you our Sister Nomics programs. I'll share with you a little bit about Sister Nomics. It is one of the pillars of our organization. So as I mentioned, today is the fourth and final session in our series of economic development programs. And in these programs, we focus on financial literacy, family wealth building, and entrepreneurship. NCBW's economic development and empowerment programs include comprehensive workshops such as these and seminars that promote economic self-sufficiency. So let's get into today's agenda and what we'll actually do today throughout our program today. So we will cover the session purpose, which I'm doing right now, and President's welcome and remarks will come next. And then the introduction of our great presenter, and then she will give her presentation. We'll have some question and answer session as well. Then we'll do a wrap up and a thank you with our final call to action. So that's today's program. What I would like to do at this time is introduce you to our president, Ms. Sonia Irby.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Co-Sister Mosley. I want to welcome everyone who is joining us live today on Zoom or on Facebook. And thank you for taking part of your Saturday morning to support the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, the Dallas Metropolitan Chapter. So while I have your attention, let me just share a bit about our organization. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated is a 40-year-old advocacy organization founded in 1981. And today we have over 60 chapters across the United States and over 3,500 members. Our mission is to advocate on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. Our vision is to see Black women and girls live in a world where socioeconomic inequity simply does not exist. The Dallas chapter was chartered in June of 2018, and the vision was to be a voice in the community and address the concerns of Black women and girls in our local Dallas area. We have been working extremely hard over the past 3 years to bring that vision to life, and I'm honored to serve as the current president of our organization. One of the ways that we advocate, you heard from our co-sister Chantel Mosley, is through our programming. We provide education and resources, and we cannot do that without the support of great partners. On a national level, our organization has strategic partnerships with the Coca-Cola Company, Major League Soccer, Walgreens, and today's sponsor, the Truist Foundation. We are proud to launch our fall series and finish our fall series, I should say, on economic empowerment today, along with our sponsor for today, the Truist Foundation. If you're not familiar with them, they are committed to the purpose of inspiring and building better lives in communities. And the Truist Foundation's grants and activities focus on leadership development, economic mobility, thriving communities, and educational equity. So we do appreciate you joining us this morning. I commend you for taking this opportunity to invest in your financial future. If you're watching us via Facebook, please tag this broadcast and share with your friends. And I also want to invite you to stay connected to us through all of our social media channels to learn more about our upcoming programs, including our Bright Lights Human Trafficking Awareness in partnership with Ladies in Film and Television on January 6th, and our Barbara Jordan Civic Engagement Series, Women of the Texas Judiciary, on January 25th. And with that, I'm going to turn back over to my co-sister, Chantel Mosley, who will introduce our speaker for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Our speaker today is known to her family and friends as Candy. Candy Martin is the owner of Martin Business Solution, which is based in Slidell, Louisiana. The company has been established since 1999, and it was formerly known as Candy's Tax Service. But both operations are well known for delivering first-rate customer care and professional business services. Candy is a business developer, she's a tax strategist, she's a CFO, financial coach, and credit restoration expert. Candy really stays abreast of the changes in the ever-evolving business and tax industries. She has earned an Associate of Science degree in Marketing Management and Advertising from Southwest Mississippi Community College, and she's also studied real estate there. She has studied business at Dillard University in New Orleans and also Southern University in Baton Rouge. She's received certifications from the IRS in electronic return origination with the IRS, as well as Refund Advantage Banking, QuickBooks Pro, and event planning. Candy regularly conducts credit, tax, and business seminars for women and men like she's doing with us today, those that are seeking to learn more in those areas. She is also an ordained minister at Living the Word International. She particularly enjoys working with churches and helping men and women of God become better stewards of their bountiful blessings. In her personal life, she is a devoted wife to her husband, Eddie Martin, and a mother of two amazing children, Ashante and James. So without further ado, please help me welcome our presenter for today, Candy Martin.
Well, good morning, ladies. It is a joy and a privilege to be before you all on today. I'm excited. A lot has changed since we've last been here. So I just want to put those two quick announcements in. I want to thank the young lady for my coalition sister now for reading that bio. And I thank you all for having me here, sharing with your chapter. Since we last been on and met, I've also became a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. I am out of the Baton Rouge chapter here in Louisiana. And so, and I give you all the credit, you know, you all have inspired me just from me following your work up to me doing the last Nomic with you all. And I was very, very honored that you all even considered asking me to come on. And so that prompted me to join in the efforts of eradicating financial illiteracy and making sure that we have the information that we need. So education is at the core of my heart. And so what better group to do it with than you all? And the second thing, I got to update that bio. I am now a new Mimi. My grandbaby is a year old, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. She's such a joy, and so I want to make sure we don't leave that out in case she watched the replay. You know. So let's get into it. I am going to share my screen. Let me make sure I have all the capability, and I am excited to get started. Yes, I do. All right. And I want to share my screen so that you all can follow along, but I will ask that you take notes and that you're attentive and engaging. And we will, toward the end, from my understanding, my sisters will open it up for Q&A. And so we'll follow along. But for right now, just kind of bear with me. We're going to have a conversation on today. I was led to do this a little different. And anytime we obey what we are told to do, we tend to have great success. So let's get started. I am going to be covering money management for Black women on today in the area of finance. It's such a broad subject. There's so many things we can talk about. But on today, I'm going to primarily put my focus here in conjunction with what you all have already been doing so far. All right, so this is my information. If anyone wants to follow and keep up, I always like to give out tips and things of that nature because I believe that the knowledge that I have, that it was God-given and it's not mine to keep. He gave me the wisdom and the knowledge, and it is my duty to share it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can follow me as well. All right, so that's the very first thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to money management is your mindset. Nothing I'm going to say or nothing these ladies are going to say is going to make any difference, any impact if your mindset is not correct. So one of the very first things when people see the sign and it says, oh, come in, I can help you get money. I can help you close that loan. Those are my taglines. Those are the things that get people's attention. Then when they come into the office, they kind of get their feelings hurt because the very first conversation has nothing to do with getting that credit card or getting that loan. It's always about the mindset. I don't want to waste my time. You don't want to waste your time. And obviously we don't even have money to waste. So the very first thing we want to do is make sure that our mindset is correct. And so what I mean by that, money and management in our world, it's quite different. And we have to understand that. So when you see things on the internet or you go to different events, you have to treat it like, the old cliche, treat it like a buffet. Take the part away that applies to you and leave the rest. And what I mean by that, just because you hear a great idea or someone else was successful with something or another culture would it worked for them may not necessarily work for you. So you have to understand how is this going to apply to me? So that's one of the very first conversations we have. We need to understand the dynamics of your family. How did you grow up learning about money? It's quite amazing when I have couples come in and they have this great idea of what they want to do, but the application just doesn't get quite panned out that way. And a lot of times it's not that one or the other don't want to participate. Their way of doing it is just different. You have to understand the family dynamic, the things that or the lack of family, the things that we learn coming up, the mindset of the household, the culture of the household in which I came from, the way I saved money, the way my parents saved money, or it's always some dynamic. Was mom a spender and she said, hey, whatever, it's gonna work out? Or was mom very frugal and you could only have one of something once a week? So what was the behavior pattern coming up? We have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. And that's not an excuse. Hey, I'm balling till I fall because that's what my auntie did. No, we're going to change that behavior. So that is one of the conversations we always want to have, because we need to understand before we start doing this budget or having this financial plan or these goals set. We're getting ready to come up on a new year. The resolutions are coming. So before we get to all of that, are we even capable of doing what we're going to set out to do? Do we have the skill set? Do we have an understanding? Do we have the education? Do we have the knowledge? So all of those things going to take a place in you making your financial success. Then we have to talk about ministry in our culture and the majority of our culture, the way that we were brought up in ministry or in church. That plays a big part in how we do money. What type of religious belief that we have, what type of traits and tradition. And that's not a good or bad thing. That's just, it's just one of those situations. What were we taught about money? Were we even allowed to say the word money in church? A lot of times money is equal to sex. So you just can't say the word money. So everybody take a deep breath. We're going to talk about money. So, talking about money sometimes is a touchy situation. So if I didn't get the training at home, what training did I get in the ministry or organization that I joined? If I was did I come up in the Girl Scout or Boys and Girls Club? Did I belong to this cheerleading squad? What else did we talk about in our organization? Did we even talk about money? And then we also have to do our environment. What type of environment are you in now? Are you in an environment that's going to allow you to start taking better control, start managing your money? Are you in a situation to do so? What type of environment are you in? If you're in a marriage, is your spouse on board? I rarely don't do household budgeting without both parties present, because it's not going to work. You're saving and they're taking it out the bank account. I mean, it's just not going to work. Have you had that conversation? Are you a single mother that has been working hard, giving your kids everything they can imagine, and now you want to save money? What is going to be the environment in your household? Are you going to sit down to the table and tell Johnny and Susie they can't have certain things because now you're going to start budgeting. You have got to take control. A manager is a person that's in charge. Management, so manager. So if you're going to start managing your money, you are now the manager. What are you going to tell your staff? Which could be your family, could be your spouse, could be your girlfriends. You know, your girlfriends like to do girls trip once a quarter. Are you able to go every 3 months, every 4 months on a girls trip? You're going to have to start managing. And so as a manager, we have to have those tough conversations. And that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to have them. And that doesn't necessarily mean everybody's broke and we're all in poverty. No, that means we got some money and we're doing pretty good, but we want to do better. So even though the conversations may seem like, oh, that's for poor people. No, this is for anybody with money. If I have $1 million in the bank, I would like 2 million. You know, if I have 500, another 500 will be great. So take out the monetary amount. This is more so about habits, more so about decision-making, more so about your mindset. So once we got that out the way and we have that understood, that's sort of like my little disclaimer. But one other thing, before you make any major changes, make sure you sit down with your financial planner, your tax advisor, to make sure that the things that, if you're considering doing anything I talk about today, make sure it lines up with where you are now. Make sure you have that conversation with the person that is already handling your finances. And Sister Nomics and the 100 Black Women Coalition, reach out to your sister. This is a great sisterhood. I know you all have great sisters that can give you great advice, so take advantage of it. Don't just be a member and not take full advantage of the perks of membership, which is asking questions. You have people that you can ask questions to. All right, so let's deal with some facts. I always like to deal with facts whenever I'm talking. I don't know if that's like a cultural thing for entrepreneurs or for those of us in business. We always got to state the facts. I got this information from Goldman Sachs, for Albright, and the AK Legacy Foundation, which is actually my nonprofit, and we target financial literacy. So we have done some research over the years as well. And so some of this information is a combination of all of that. So the wage gap, let's have the conversation. 90 Black women, which is us, we have a tendency to earn 90% less wealth than the average American white male. 90% less. We have to face the facts. You know, we earn 64 cents for every dollar that they earn, while our Asian sisters earn $1.01, meaning that there's even a value system there. And so a lot of times when others don't value us, we tend to not value us. And so we want to make sure that we rid that mindset that is just numbers. That does not equate to who I am as a person. Yes, the fact says that I get paid less, but I am worth a whole lot more. So don't ever feel just because the money isn't the same that my value is less, okay? Ownership, we own 5% of Black women own their businesses. That's a small number. Only 0.5% own their business. So even though we're great at managing businesses and corporations and managing organizations for others, because that's who we are at the nature. We are, we're some bad mama jammas. I mean, we can get in there, make it happen. We make sure that it works. We service everyone. We get it done by any means necessary. We sacrifice our time. And that is one thing. I know this is not this meeting, but self-care, I'm sure you guys are doing it. Make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because this is why. Because we're managing everything for everyone else. So don't forget to manage ourselves. But white men are 24 times more likely to own their business than we are. So that's, you know, some things that we want to consider. Are we owning our businesses? And that is not to say those that work in corporate America. I am all for working, even though I own my own business and have so for 23 years. I always have some capacity of a job. Let me tell you something. Working in a steady employment is a great thing, not just for security-wise, but it also puts you in an environment to learn, to deal with conflict resolution. It keeps you abreast. It keeps you focused. It keeps you engaged. So I'm all for working, and I'm also all for owning your own business. But I just, and then for access, we're 20% less likely to start our money using bank money. We're only getting 20% of the startup is from bank loan. The other 80%, you guess it, our personal finances that we earn from our job. We're putting our earnings into our businesses. We're borrowing from our cousins. We're doing without. We're selling our home. It's too often too common. Every time we get ready to do something, we have to cut off an arm to do it. So hopefully by the end of this session, we'll have some tips and tools where that number won't be the same this time next year. So some hope, we're changing the narrative in the corporate and private sectors because we're running more companies now. We're taking the higher pay rate. We're going in and asking for, we're negotiating our pay. We're having a career assessment. We're doing those things. We're owning businesses. We're starting businesses. We're partnering with others. We're putting our finances together. And if we continue on this path, we will raise the earning gap, and we will decrease the earning gap, my apologies, and we will provide 1.7 million jobs in the next 20 years. Plan to succeed. Education, like getting on here today is exactly part of that. If you want to be financially successful, you have to plan to succeed. And in doing that is educating yourself, start networking, getting out, finding out what's out there, ask the questions that you don't know the answers to, and learn the how-to for us. And that is what I plan on doing today. A lot of times people tell us, you need to do this, and you need to do that, but they don't tell us how. And so it's a work in progress. I'm working on developing more on how to have a how-to for us. Because like I said earlier, everything is going to be different simply because of our culture, simply because of the facts we just saw that our value system still hasn't gotten there in the eyes of America. So we just have to make sure that we're aware of those things, and so that we can develop the how-to for it. All right. So let's have the talk. So hopefully you guys are taking notes, and so we can just kind of flow in this area here. So I want to talk about the credit score. I know we're talking about money management. A lot of times when we think about money management, we just think about cash. And so one of the things I want to hone in on is credit. Because in our culture, most of the time, grandmom didn't have credit cards. She had, she hid the money somewhere in our house, had it up here. You wanted some money from grandma. She didn't give you a credit card or Discover, or Visa, or MasterCard. She gave you some dollar bill. And so we want to talk about credit, and let's just have that conversation. Your credit score is, think of it as a pie, and it's split into 5 pieces, okay? The pieces aren't even. So 35% of your score is made up of payment history. So how you pay your bill. Do you pay them on time? Did you pay them? Did you get a charge off? Did it get closed out? Did you pay on time? Did you pay early? Did you pay just enough? So all of those things, consistency in a payment history is what is 35% of your score, which is the highest percentage in your FICO scoring system. You want to make sure that above all, that your payment history is tight, because that is going to be the most important. 30% of your score comes from the amount that you owe in credit. So for example, if your credit card limit is $100 and you keep your credit card below $30, you're doing great. If your credit card is charged to $70 and $80, your score is going to start dropping. So what you want to make sure that every month when your payment history gets reported, that you're down 30%. Now, there's an important number that I want you all to also take note in. When finding out when your credit card or loan report to the credit bureau, you don't want to just know the due date. You want to know the reporting date. That is totally different in most cases. The due date could be the 10th, but they could report every month on the 5th. And so if you're saying, well, I'm going to pay my card down 30% by the due date, which is the 10th, but they reported on the 5th. That means you are already over your 30% and you're wondering like, hey, I'm paying my bill on time, my score is not moving, or my score took a hit, but I paid the bill on time and I paid it early and I paid it down by 30%. I paid it down to 30%. And you're not wondering, and you're wondering why, it's because did you pay it before they reported? So you want to call all your creditors. It's a simple phone call. Excuse me, can you tell me what day you all report to the credit bureau? And they can say, hold on, and they go find out, and they say, oh, we report every month on the 3rd. But you've been paying your bill every month on the 15th because that's the due date. So now in one of those instances, you're going to need to double up on payment so that you can get it in before the 5th. And so in your mind, your new payment date, due date is the 5th, not the 15th. Why is that? Oh, credit is the credit industry is a game. That's all it is, just like playing Monopoly. If you know the rules, you win. So, I mean, we're not knocking them. That's their tactic. I wouldn't normally do it, but it ain't my company, you know. And so their rule is, let's have the due date on the 15th, but we're going to report it on the 5th. You'll never get out of that cycle until you meet people like us, the Sister Nomic. We find it out, we're going to tell it to you. So that is one of the things you can do to boost your credit score. All right. So we want to talk about credit. 15% of your credit score is the length, how long you've had it. I've heard people say, well, I've had this card since 1907, but I don't like the store anymore. They made me mad. I'm going to cut the card up. Don't do it. The longer you have had credit, the more points you'll get for having that. And you want to utilize it. Okay, you fell out with the store clerk, don't cut the card up. Just say, you know what, I'm not going to go to that one. You can order online now, you know, and you don't have to use more than you need. You know, Christmas is coming up. When you've saved up $500 in your Christmas savings account, well, charge the card $500, take the money from the savings account, put it on the card. Using the credit is where you get your, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to properly use credit without, you know, just being irresponsible. So we'll talk about that. Credit is okay to have if you're using it properly and you have it for a purpose, okay? All right, so like I said, 15% is how long you've had it. So you want to make sure that you don't close any accounts, especially if you've had them a while. They are really helping your credit score. The next 10% of it is new credit. And I know you're saying, well, if we're going to be responsible, we're going to get out of debt and we're going to be better managers, why would we want new credit? Well, credit is, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't apply it, they take it away. If you ever get the notice in the mail that says, hey, since you have not used this card, we're closing your account. And you're thinking, well, look, I don't owe you anything. I paid you on time. I paid it down to 0. And it's been 1.5 years since I used it. I have it for just in case. Well, credit is not for just in case. That's what your emergency fund is for. And so that's how they grade your score. If you never use it, never apply for anything in a time frame, they say, well, you know what? She doesn't need our credit. We're going to pull it. And so you want to make sure that you have a new credit, which means that can look like you calling your creditor asking for a limit increase. That can also look as if you're going to get a new car. If you go 24 months and you never use credit, it's almost like you're off the grid. I know that sounds crazy, but that's really the reality of it. But you don't want to just be applying and swiping, and no, we're not going to do that. When you go to the department store and they say, hey, you can save 10% if you apply for this credit card, run. No, don't do that. Don't do that. We're gonna, hopefully we get a chance to talk about what type of credit is good credit. Run from those. But anyway, and that 10% that they're gonna give you off is just the tax. Really, it's just the tax. So don't fall for it. All right, and the last 10% of your score is type of credit. You can't have 5 auto loans and that's all that's on your credit. You have to have a good mix. Do you have a mortgage, a car loan, 2 credit cards, and maybe a store card to your favorite store that you're going to go to all the time? Maybe we could do that one. So something different. A jewelry account. It has to be a mix. 10% of your score comes from your variation. If all you have is 5 credit cards, that's not a good mix. So you want to make sure that your credit profile has a mixture, okay? All right, so the next thing we want to talk about, how much do you earn? Is there any room for growth? And these things aren't any particular order of most important. This is the order that is in for this presentation, but how much do you earn? Is there any room for growth? As you saw earlier, we saw that we have to self-finance most of what we're gonna do. We earn 64 cents in comparison to our white male counterparts. So what are we doing for that? So do you even know how much you earn? Oh, I make $12 an hour. Well, what does that equate to for a year? How is that gonna project for you over the next 10 years? Will you be able to stand inflation? So you need to know how much you earn. Is there room for growth? Do you need to take some type of certification? Do you need to go back to school? Do you need to switch careers? Do you need to, and I'm not an advocate of somebody working 2 and 3 jobs. I'm almost against that, you know, but I'm not knocking it if that's what you're doing. We want to work on an exit strategy, perhaps, of how to get some of your time back. Because if you're working 2 or 3 jobs, we may need to talk about money management. It's not the days of old where in our culture, that's what we had to do because we were only given 5 hours from this person and 2 hours from this employer. So we got into that habit of seeing people work 2 or 3 jobs, and through our culture and through our upbringing, we just figured that was the norm. But right out of desegregation and all those things, they were only given 2 and 3 hours from this person because the type of job that they were given. So that kind of behavior has become kind of almost normal. So we want to work on that. Do we have any room for growth? Do we need to study? Do we need to have that hard conversation with our employer and say, hey, how can I get an increase in pay? Oftentimes we don't have that conversation in fear of being fired. So we have to start having that self-confidence, and don't just go in asking for a raise. Go in showing how you can benefit from a raise, what the company can benefit from. What would that do? What does that look like? Put together a presentation, put some time and effort into it, research. And what are your work ethics? Should they be giving you a raise? So we want to make sure that we're doing that, because we're going to need the extra income or steady income or better income to do some of the other things we're going to talk a little bit about a little later on. You have to have the funds, the finances. Let's be real. Everything that you want to do right now, just about, you're going to have some money to do it. And you don't want to be stressed. You don't want to be overwhelmed. So we have to have the increase. We have to have the income to do what we need to do. If you have a giving heart and you love giving to charities and you want to support Sister Nomic and the 100 Black, if you want to do those things, you have to have the income set aside in your budget to do so. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I just want to get that point across. Do a self-evaluation. Can I ask for a raise? What can I do in my company? What marketing strategy can I do to increase my sales? Those are some of the things that you need to be having conversations about when it comes to growing in your finances. Do you have a list of all your expenses? Or is everything on auto draft, auto pay, and it's just kind of whatever, whenever? You know, all your subscription. Trust me, I want everybody to do this little challenge. I was like, oh my God, take a list of all of your subscriptions, you know, the Netflix, YouTube, your Apple Pay, just make a list of them. I mean, they're only $5, $3, $12. That's all. It's not that lot. It's not a lot of money. But if you add that list up, I promise you, you're going to be astonished of how much it is. And so you need to know what it is. You need to, and if you're a business owner, you need to know what your subscriptions are for all your business applications, as well as your personal. We're in that press and subscribe, you get 1 month free. Yeah, but it's 7 months later before you remember it's coming out of the account. So I want everyone to make a list, and I'm gonna ask that my National Coalition Sisters for the Dallas chapter, call your sisters out on it. Find out if they did that list. Let's be each other's accountability partner. We want to know. We don't have to know what the subscriptions are. We don't want to be in your business like that, but we need to know what that number is. You know, I don't want to know what you're subscribing to, sis, but I need to know What's that number? Do you know the number? So I want you all to kind of start putting it in the chat, start tagging each other, call somebody else, just grab somebody, say, hey, we're gonna make this list together. Make the list of all your expenses. What is your house note? What is your insurance? And not just the amount. When is it due? When does it report? This is some homework. This is some work. You say you want to be successful. You want to have money to leave for your family. You want to be able to take trips around the world. You know, I'm going to take a 2-week vacation every year. You put this on your vision board every January. But what steps are we doing to make it happen? So let's list these expenses. I know it's a daunting task, but trust me, you are going to be glad that you did. Now, after you make the list, are they necessary? Or any items on this list, if they got cut off, you're going to stop breathing and die. Is it? Okay. So now we can start getting into budgeting, because now we know what's important, what's an absolute must. I have a subscription to a scheduling app for my business. I know that if I didn't have that app, it would be a catastrophe in my office, because it's a scheduling app. And that's how everybody knows when they're coming in, what time and where. So that's important. That's vital. But there's that YouTube app. I probably don't need that. I mean, I could cancel that because I just got to watch the commercials. Okay. You know, it's not going to kill me to watch the commercial. Free versus watching a 30-second commercial. You do the math, and does it make sense? All right. So make a list of the expenses, and then I want you to mark the things that are important to you, important to you. Someone else might not see the importance in it. It's not for them, it's for you. So what's important? All right, your discipline level. Are you in for it? Are you down to do this? Accountability partner. We already talked about that. Getting someone, who are the team players? What relationships are you in that is going to help you do this? All right. Accountability partner can look like a spouse. It could be a parent. It can be your sister, brother, someone that you know is more responsible than you. We all have that one person we'll be like, I'm not going to tell her what I'm going to do, because if I don't do it, she ain't going to never live it down. You know, that's the person you need to tell. Look, I'm not drinking any more soda. So if you see me drinking a soda, slap it out my hand. You know that one person you can tell that to, and they're going to execute it to the fullest. So this is the same attitude we need to have when it comes to our finances. Do you operate on a budget, or are you living your best life? So, you know, what we doing? All right, have that talk, and have the talk with yourself first. Okay, have the talk. If you're going to operate on a budget, it does not mean you can't have fun. In my budgeting sessions, and I'm telling you, sis, if you're doing a budgeting, include doing the things you like. If you like buying a new purse every 2 months, put that in your budget. Now, you can't put everything in the budget. You can have new shoes, new purse, new car. You can't, no, come on now. Pick the favorite thing, put it in the budget. I love to travel. So I have to put that in the budget. If you know that you can't, you know you're not going to act right if you don't do this, put it in the budget. That means you're going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere else. So put it in the budget. It's okay. So anybody tell you to cut out all the fun, you can't do nothing when you're budgeting, that is not true. You just have to plan for it. And one of my favorite questions, legacy plan. What is your legacy plan? Whether you have children or not, whether you have family or not, what is your legacy going to be? You're here for a reason. And lots of times when we talk about life insurance, we think about dying. That is not what life insurance is actually what it says, insurance for life. There are some things, we're not going to get into all that. There are some things you can do with life insurance, like pay for college, pay for a business. There's a lot of things you can do with life insurance. But legacy planning is also outside of just life insurance. Legacy planning means, do you have a will in place? Do you have a trust for your will? A will can be contested unless it has a trust. Are you going to, do you have anything that you want to leave to charity? What is your legacy going to be? If you assume that somebody else is going to know what you're thinking and going to do what you want them to do, and you're no longer here, how are they going to ask you? Put it in writing. Put it in writing. One of my favorite scriptures, if it's okay if I mention it, write the vision and make it plain. You gotta make it real simple. You know your cousin. You can't have all those big words in it. You know you gotta break it down. You gotta put it in writing. Don't assume that they're gonna know. And you don't wanna leave that burden on your family. This is ties in with money management. Do not leave your family. They're grieving and not thinking straight. Now they're fussing about who gets your car. Put it in a will. People tend to have sentimental value to the weirdest things when people die. So don't assume they'll all know what to do. No, put it in writing. If you do nothing else, hear nothing else, sit down, get you a will, get you a trust if you can, but at least bare minimum, write up a will and do it the legal way, not on a piece of paper, folding it up, putting it under the mattress. No, get a legal binding will. That's money management. And don't think, oh, I don't have a whole lot of money. I don't really have a whole lot of stuff. That is not true. If you have $10 and your favorite dress, who would you want to leave that to? Or are you going to let the state decide? They don't need no more money. They got enough of our money already. Leave a will. All right. Your money management system. You got to start somewhere. Develop a money plan. I mentioned earlier, being a manager means you're running something. You're in charge. Someone entrusted you to be in charge of something. Whether it's the Lord has blessed you, your job has blessed you, somebody somewhere has made you a manager. So you want to develop a strategy, a system, so that it can be successful. And like any system, it's not always, 100% guaranteed it's going to work right. But if you have a plan, you can alter it. You can make changes. You can go back and read it, say, okay, what did I say I was going to do? You have some way to remind yourself. So you got to have a plan. Start somewhere. Okay. And also, really quick before I forget, saving money is not necessarily the amount. I know that in January, it's going to start happening every January, like clockwork. Somebody's going to put out that saving plan or that saving challenge. We're going to save $10,000 in 30 days, and this is how you do it. So it's coming. So I don't want anybody feeling pressured to do things that they're not comfortable with. You have to grow into saving. Saving is a habit. So if it's $5 or $500, it's still going to be about habit. Because if I have $500 and I don't have the mindset or the habit or the skill set to save it, I'm still not going to save it. And sis over here can be putting $5 a week in savings. At the end of the year, she's going to have more money than me. So make sure if you're taking any of these money challenges, you're prepared. Okay. Start somewhere. I don't care if you're saving $5 a week or $5 a month. Do something. And it's a habit. It's an intention. You're remembering to do something. Create and refine your budget. Sit down, preferably with a financial planner or someone. And when I say financial planner, it doesn't necessarily mean they have the title of a financial planner. You may have an aunt that works at a bank that's pretty good with budgeting. Reach out, create a budget, refine your budget. Take your budget, once you get it developed, give it to someone else. Say, okay, can you help me with this? Someone that you can trust. When it comes to money and some other things, we deal with people we can trust. So you want to make sure that you're not looking at it just from your perspective. You need someone else that, may be a math teacher. I don't know, be creative. Hire your financial planner. It's a great conversational piece. Oh, I had my financial advisor to review my budget. Sounds good. But, so let's do some things. We talking about other things. This sounds really good, and if you're single, this sounds really sexy to a guy. So, let me just throw that out there, So, hey, and then stick to your plan. You want to make the budget, like I said, just like when we're exercising, I'm not eating any ice cream for the next 60 days. And then we're off in the back eating Bluebell. It happens. So stick to the plan and have it where you can go back to it. If you tend to deviate from it, you have a plan to stick to. Learn how to earn. In your money management system, if the money is not coming in, it's going to run out eventually. So you want to have a way that you can manage your wages and contracts. You know, I said wages in case, you know, if you're earning a wage or if you're earning money through entrepreneurship, you want to sit down, look at your wage. Is there room? Look at the company handbook. There's something somewhere. Reach out to HR. Hey, what is the compensation plan for the company? If you're if you're an MLM, multi-level marketing, what's the compensation plan? Read it. Those are not all pyramids and schemes. Trust me, there's some really good MLMs. I'm in one. I'm making some. They're good, but you got to know the compensation plan and how it works. What are your contracts? When do they expire? When can you increase it? So those are some of the things you need to do. Learn it. Know your stuff. Know your money. Investing. I don't have the statistic, but I remember in a class I did earlier this year, we did a one on investing, and the numbers were awful, guys. As Black women, we do not invest. There are a lot of us that are, and we're having those conversations more. I am not a investing analyst. That is not my area. That is not my lane. I can refer you to someone that does, or we can ask around. But in that seminar, it was still going back to mindset. So learn about it. Read some books. Follow people that you know are successful in it. Do your own homework and research, because one thing about investing, there are risks involved. So you need to make sure you have a clear understanding, even if you're going to hire someone to do your investing. If you're going to use the Robinhood app and all those other things, read, study, make sure, understand it. I'm not saying you have to be a genius in it, but at least have a basic understanding. Above all things, get an understanding, okay? So you want to understand what it is and invest, because that's where your extra comes from. You know, without any, really, to be honest, without any sweat equity, you know. Real estate. We're talking about money management. Trust me, you want to be in some form of real estate. Even if you don't own a home, you want to own a lot somewhere. There is income potential in real estate. One thing about real estate, they're not making more land. You know, there's not a factory somewhere making more land. We have what the good Lord gave us here on earth. Now, maybe if you're going to go to Mars and all those other things, you can get into some more, but they're not making more land here, okay? So get into real estate in some form of capacity. If we have any realtors in the group, have conversations with them. You know, what can I do? Even if your credit is challenged, find out, do your family have some property that nobody's paying the taxes on? Get the education about real estate. Trust me, it is a great way to leverage money. And your value system. Evaluate what your value systems are. What are important to you? Find out what you want to do and learn about it. What is your value system? Okay. And I hope I don't sound like I'm preaching. That's one of the challenges I run into sometimes. So hopefully everybody's still here. All right. Credit and strategies. Oh, okay. So let's talk about a few tips. And because I only had a few minutes, I know there's no way I was going to be able to talk about everything. So I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things to kind of wake your mind up, get you to take some notes, and then go back and do your own due diligence. Have those conversations and date it. Put today's date on it. You know, and so this time next year, I want you to be able to go back and say, hey, I did at least one thing on here. You know, if you accomplish one thing on here, trust me, it makes a world of difference. Now, the timeline to your goal is going to depend upon how much you do, how fast, and how well. I don't want just checklist items. Did you do it in excellence? That's more important than just, oh, I did it. You know, so take your time, no pressure here. To rebuild your credit, or if you have good credit, you can have a 780. It's still room for improvement. Unless you have an 850 on all three credit reports, there's room for improvement. And, you know, they're tossing it around about the 900. So 850 on all three. I remember maybe about 15 years ago, having a 580 was great. Now it's getting to be 720. In some places, it's pushing to a 760. So now your new target credit score would be a 720. You know, at bare minimum, at least reaching for 720. And an 850, of course, you're knocking it out the park. So kind of having, you know, like I said, having those conversations, pull your credit score. Do you even know your credit score? There's a website, freeannualcreditreport.com. Make sure you type it in just like that. Make sure when you log in, it says free credit report. There's all those different places. It is free. Sometimes, I think right now they're still doing the COVID, where they did a COVID relief where you can get all 3 of your credit reports and or at no cost due to COVID. Now, I don't know if it expired or not as of yet, but you can at least check it out. There are other apps. A lot of times people ask me, and I don't really want to do name calling, but they ask me about, well, you know, the app that everybody has, about getting your free credit report. Some of those apps aren't accurate. Now, let me explain why. A lot of the apps are advertising portals. If you ever notice, if you log into those apps, they'll have all kind of advertisement from different lenders. Hey, you've been pre-approved for a $500 credit card. So what they do is they'll get access to your credit report and they'll put your score out, and then they charge the advertisers to advertise on this platform. Because if you're checking your credit score, obviously you're about to do something. You're about to apply for a credit card, buy a house. So you'll see Rocket, those lenders, Rocket Mortgage lenders, and all those different lenders on that, Zillow, all those places will be advertising, and all you really want to know is what your credit score. So I don't really rely on those when it comes to credit. So you want to make sure that you're actually doing a pull on your credit. When you pull your credit, it is not an inquiry on your credit report, because it's your information, it's your business. You can get as many as you want. Now, at some point, you may have to pay for them, or you can write directly to the credit bureau and get it and get your credit report. And I'm going to type in the chat really quick. A lot of times, this credit company gets overlooked. It's called LexisNexis. This credit report, you will mostly see it when you go to buy a car and they deny you, and it says your credit report was denied by LexisNexis. Most people don't pay attention because by the time you're mad, you don't care, you know. But at the bottom, it says LexisNexis. Originally, LexisNexis was for government agencies to pull your credit, but it was more so not for your credit and your spending. It was more so, have you ever been arrested? Where did you live? Have you been divorced? So all of these informational things are on this credit report, and it's free. So you want to also get a copy of this credit report as well, not just TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, but also including the LexisNexis. Okay, make sure you get this one. It is free. If you go to their website, it is free. Okay, so don't pay for that. All right. Another tip about credit is never co-signing for anybody. You want them to add you. If you got an aunt that pays all her bills, been like that all her life, she's gonna die paying her bills. She's gonna be in the casket talking about go pay my light bill. Okay, you want her to put you on her account, but you don't want to co-sign for anybody. All right. And the reason being is a lot of times we forget, we think more so that, oh, they're going to pay it. And you may co-sign for someone that will pay it, and they may never miss a payment. So that is not the issue. You don't want to co-sign for anyone because of the debt income ratio. And I know if we have any lenders on here, you guys can totally appreciate this. When you get ready to buy a home or get a loan, it could be a business startup loan, it could be a home loan, a car loan, whatever. They count all of your expenses, and then they count all of your income. Where you make enough money to carry all of your income, you're doing good, you're paying all your bills, that's fine. But now they have to factor in this car note or this mortgage you may even have for your daughter. Okay? Now she's paying it, but when it comes to running your credit, they cannot add anybody else's credit history or income to your credit report. So that means it's on your credit report as an expense, but you can't count her income. So a lot of times we get denied because the debt income ratio. So we have to look at eliminating some of the debt so that we can get the income ratio to make sense. Some places say, well, you need to make 3 times as much as your income has to be 3 times the amount your expenses. That's kind of like a rule. So if your income, if your expenses are $100 a month, you need to make about $400. So, so you can kind of put in your zip code and go on Google, what's the average debt income ratio. So you want to research that and find out what that is and know what that is. All right, use other people's money. Yay! Don't we want to do that? We don't want to spend our money. We want to save our money for traveling, shopping, eating, and relaxing. So, but seriously, when you're building legacies and you're building wealth, one of the key components is being bankable. You want to be in a position to where if you needed to walk into a bank and apply for a loan, you want to be able to get approved. Well, don't just go in blindly. You need to sit down and come up with a strategy. Check your credit score, check your debt income ratio, see what your earnings is, how your income is playing. How are you going to make more money? What is your financial projection? Because remember, they're going to factor in inflation. So you want to make sure that you have a plan, that you have a lot of times in business world, we say business plan. You can also have a financial plan. You can say, hey, this is what I'm earning. This is my debt income ratio. This is my credit score. This is how my earnings is going to increase in the next 5 years. Have it well planned out. And what you want, because the bank want to know 2 things. Credit cards and bank want to know 2 things. When are you going to pay me back? And how are you going to pay me back? And you can't just tell them that. You have to show them in the number. The numbers don't lie. Okay, so you want to be able to be bankable. So work on, even if you're not going to apply for anything, get yourself in a position to be bankable. We all have learned, if nothing else, 2020 and 2021 has taught us the unexpected could always happen. So you want to be in a position to be bankable. And so building your legacy, we kind of talked about that already. You want to make sure it's not just about leaving money. It's not just about leaving the house and the car. You want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy. If you're doing any charity work, who's going to be your successor, down to if you're in a program, if you're a chairperson on a committee, what does that look like if you're no longer present? Don't leave people hanging. Sit down, write it out. You have been taking somebody to the library every first Saturday for the last 10 years. Who's going to do it if you're not doing it? So all of those things, not just your money, but all of your things that's a part of your legacy. Your legacy is going to be how people remembered you. Or you're going to write a memoir. I don't know. Whatever you're planning on doing, do it now. Put that in motion, okay? Know your option when it comes to life insurance and wills and trust. Don't just take the first thing that sounds good. Do your research. What works best for you? What can you afford? Is there something that's transferable? So you want to make sure that you know all of your options. Sit down with an insurance person and sit down with someone with some integrity that's going to tell you the truth. Sometimes that takes a little research, that takes some referrals. Ask people, hey, who is your insurance person? Have those conversations. All right, so I'm gonna turn it back over to my National Coalition sister that's gonna be in charge of the Q&A session. I want to offer everyone a complimentary financial assessment that simply looks like going to my website, click appointment, and you can do virtual on the phone, or when I drive down the Slidell, I'll be glad to see you here in the office. So we'll do a complimentary session so we can just see if you're on the right path. You may want to earn some money to start a new project, and you may want to start a business. You may want to start a family fund. So it's, whatever. And if your finances have some challenges, you may want some information on how to get restarted, how to position yourself to succeed, whatever the case may be. Don't let the amount of what you currently have deter you. I'm sure every one of us, myself included, could use an assessment. An assessment just basically says this is where you are now, and then you can decide if you want to make any changes. I thank you all for hearing me out, and this has been fun. So I'm like, oh, here we go with these Q&A questions. So that's always exciting because you just never know. But don't be afraid to ask any question. And if I don't know something, I'll let you know that I don't know. So I'm turning it over to someone else. Let me stop share.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Candy. That was exciting. And we do have a lot of questions that have come in. All right, so we will get started first. Our second VP, Lisa McGee, chimes in with the question about, should we ask for reporting dates as well for things like your mortgage and car loans as well?
Yes, yes. Anything that is being reported to your credit, you want to find out. You'll even find some agencies don't report, and you'll find that some don't do it every month, they do it every quarter. So yes, you want to know everything.
Awesome. Okay. So I have a few here, but I'll just chime in with Laquita's question because it kind of ties into another one that's here, and it's about children. And you did mention some things about that, but is it a good idea to add your children to your credit? She said, it sounds like a bad idea to get children involved in credit young, but what is the expert advice? So I'm gonna wait there because there's kind of a part 2 to that, and maybe you can answer both in the same thing. The question here was, when is the best time to talk to kids about money management?
You're never too early, and I guess I'm gonna answer the second one first. You're never too early to talk to children about money. When they're 2 and 3 years old and they ask them for things, that's a great time to start. And then you increase your conversation level according to the child. We all know our children. We know which child to have what conversation with at what time. We know their level of responsibility, how they keep their room clean, how they do their grades in school. We have the telltale signs. A very good friend of mine, Darren, says that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you know your children, and that is going to be my advice, my expert advice. I guess if I'm a mom, I got some expertise in that area. So when it comes to credit, it's never too early to talk to them about money, credit, savings, even saving. Children are notorious at saving money. You want to get these kids in on a challenge? Let's see who saves the most money. If you save $100, mama gonna give you $100. You're gonna see that, but I'm only giving it to the first child that saves $100. I promise you, that's like a competition like no other. Get them involved. When they become teenagers, you definitely want to monitor what they're spending their money on. Money is tied to behavior, so you want to make sure that whatever they're on their Apple Pay and all that stuff, it is tied to a behavior pattern and a mindset. So we want to have those money conversations when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. Why you need $10? My son will be, thank God, he'll be 21 Tuesday, and I'm still asking him, what you spend $7.13 on? I'm getting out of it, because when he turned 21, I'm backing out. But you want to be conscious of what they're spending it on. So you're never too early. And the next question was them co-signing or being on your, no, don't. Children are our family, just like any other family member. You have a cousin that you wouldn't, So we do our children the same way. And the reason being is because are they going to pay it? Or that's mama, she got it. Oh, daddy going to do it? So they're not gonna, and I'm not saying, I'm saying that's my opinion, my belief of what I've seen over the last 20 something years. Seen people fall out about money. And one person you don't want to fall out with, of course, you don't want to fall out with your children about money. And this would be a good time to introduce them. There's credit cards. I like the Discover credit card if you have a college student. It's a great card. And I think that I would rather introduce my child to credit versus them going to college and they're getting a $1,500 credit card to some store. So have that when they're in high school. Start saying, okay, we're going to apply for your Discover card on your 18th birthday. Just like we do the driver's license at 16, let's do the credit card at 18. Let's get the Discover card. While they're still in our home and we can manage and watch. Now let's talk about the children that have gone on, got married, and come back, or they just out, they're single, whatever the case may be, we're still not co-signing. But what we will do is walk you through the financial management journey. You need to get a loan. Okay, let's go sit down. Go with them to the bank. Sit down with the banker. Help them ask the question. Guide them through those conversations. When they look to you and say, will you co-sign? No, I cannot do that. But I can help my child get whatever it is that they need. Do they need a $500 CD? Okay, well, let's go and save $500. Let's put the $500 in there. You come back and get a secured credit card. Hey, I'll give you $500. I'm not co-signing, but I'll give you $500. Make the check, do whatever you have to do, because you don't want to enable their bad decisions that may have gotten them where they are and they need a co-signer. And then it could just be, it's not a bad thing, they just can't afford it. And so why would you want to co-sign for them to get something that they can't afford to do transition tomorrow? Mm-hmm. So put them in a position to be able to take care of themselves. And trust me, that was a lesson learned. So that didn't come out of any book. Next question.
Okay, so along those same lines, kind of piggybacking on that, adding to that, what is kind of the thoughts around authorized users or authorized signers? Is it the same thing? Because what Laquita was saying was she does see people adding authorized users. But then Lisa's question was more about what about having authorized signers on the account? So you have like when you were talking about, okay, well, co-signing and, getting cards and things like that for them. But what about having an authorized user on your accounts?
It's the same as co-signing. The difference is, because you're still going to be on the credit report. The only difference is, it's really no different, except for they can't make changes. Mm-hmm. An authorized signer can't call and say, well, we want to change the due date from the 5th to the 12th. Mm-hmm. They don't have that capability with just that company, that card company. But as far as the credit report, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So don't do it.
Okay, so no difference there. All right. So how important is an emergency fund, and how much should you have in it?
That is an excellent question. Emergency funds are extremely important, of high urgency. I always tell people start aiming for $1,000. That's just a typical number. But in some cases, you may have an emergency fund, a savings account. Those are two different things. An emergency fund should be a true emergency. Your daughter's getting ready to have emergency surgery and she's 3,000 miles away. You got to buy a ticket. The ticket's going to be $700, and you go and grab that and you're hopping on a plane. That's an emergency. You need to have at least $1,000 in that. A savings account is more so where you want to have 3 to 6 months worth of income saved. You don't want that money in investments. You don't want it anywhere else except for in a savings, and that will typically be 3 to 6 months. Now, an emergency fund, as much as you can put in it, start off with $5. Get it, go to the bank, ask them, how much do I have to open up this savings account? Get it, label it, emergency fund. I don't care, sisters, if it's $50, that habit. Remember, we talked about that mindset. And then also you want to have a savings account, which is typically 3 to 6 months. Nowadays, I'm pushing it to say 12 to 18 months worth of savings.
Yeah, COVID has changed that for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You think that way. All right, and so there's also here in the chat, is there a particular budget strategy that you suggest? Like when doing the budget, what would be a strategy to kind of get it going?
Well, my number one tip off the back is, what would you do consistently? If you're a pen and paper notebook person, put your budget in a notebook. If you're a gadget, hey, there are tons of apps you can download. If you like to put things on the wall, what is going to make you consistent? That's the first thing. Figure that out. When you figure it out, hey, I need a notebook, then you want to research what's the best notebook for budgeting. If you like apps and gadgets and sounds and ringtones, what's the best app for me? I'm age 18 to 24, Black female. Things gonna come up. Embrace technology. Whatever you're gonna do consistently, pick that budgeting strategy. Now, that's just how to do it. How to get it going. Then the next thing you want to develop is understanding the language of the budget. There are so many different budget types out there. And this may take some trial and error if you've never done budgeting. A budget and an expense plan and a projection, all those things are different. A budget says, last year, I went through you can do it, we're at the end of 21. You can do it now. Go through your bank statement from January through November. Write down everything that you spent money on. That's going to tell you how much money you need to have for next year. Well, if this is your first year budgeting, your budget may not truly be a budget until 2023, because you have to start allocating. I'm going to spend $500 a year on toilet paper. I'm going to spend $1,000 a year on my light bill. And so next year, anytime I deviate from the budget, I have to reconcile it. And I hope I'm not getting too technical, but your budget is not what I'm going to spend. A budget is, this is what my behavior pattern is. And so this is what I need to do for next year, because this is what I did last year. So a budget is almost like history repeating itself, okay? So a lot of times people get budgeting mixed up with, I'm gonna save $100 to go do this with. No, what did you spend it on last year? Kind of make an assessment, and that's how you determine, for 2022, we can't spend more than $500 on toilet paper, because that's what we did in 2021. So.
Got it. Okay. So this one was kind of when you were talking about the fun stuff and buying purses and traveling and things like that.
Yes.
As what's the kind of a general overall rule about how much to set aside for fun stuff or things that we enjoy?
Okay. Once again, we want to look at our budget or our bank account or however we've been doing it for last year. Look at our necessities. Look at how we spent money on our whatever it was that we did, we consider fun, and what do we have left over? Can we afford any fun stuff, or do we have to start to build it up? So, for example, if I have, at the end of every month, I have $10 that I can do whatever I want with. If I want to throw it up in the air, nothing is going to shake up. Well, now that seems as if I have $10 a month. Well, that's going to give me $120 by the end of the year. So for 2022, my fund budget is $120. If I want more than $120 in my fund budget, then I have to go back through my budget from 2021, see what I can eliminate going forward, and start putting that extra money. So for example, if you're paying a car note in 2021 and the note is $300 a month, you pay the car off. Now you have $300. How much of that are you going to put into paying something else off? Where are you going to allocate that $300? Are you going to put it in a savings? Now you can start taking some of that. You can say, hey, I'm going to put $150 in my emergency fund and $150 in my fund account. So you have to find the money. Cut something out, get a side gig. I don't know. You're gonna have to build the fund account. If you're blessed and you have an extra $3,000 somewhere that you can take out to start it, do whatever you got to do, sis. But you got to stick to it. When it's over, the fund is over.
Got it. Okay. I have one more. If anybody else has any, I have one more. What is more important? Creating a savings or like emergency fund, or clearing the debt, and why?
Ooh. That's a good one. So that's gonna have to be per case answer. Okay. So let me give 2 examples, and that's gonna be a case by case. If I am on a tight budget and I'm getting it. I'm surviving. A savings account, maybe you got two options. I can have some money in the savings in case something else comes up that it just could just blow my budget. But at the same time, if I could get rid of this bill, then I could have a little extra money and I won't be so stressed. So that person may have to do a twofold. They may have to put a little in savings, chip a little bit at the debt. But of course, in that instance, it's going to take a longer time. So with that conclusion, I think paying the debt off would be most important, because you can get rid of that, because it's not just saving the money or getting rid of the debt, it's also the stress of it. Getting rid of the debt to me is going to probably be my first choice if I had to do one or the other, and then take that money and since I got it done and I paid it, now that it's paid off, I could start putting some in the savings, and let's go back and see if I have any other debt, because I don't want anybody stressed out.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it saved and you're making it, I think paying the debt off would be my number one priority.
Got it. Okay. Anybody else had any other questions before we move forward? Okay, Madam President said she added up all her subscriptions. And yeah, oh my goodness, yeah. So totaling up $800. Great exercise.
Oh,
Very
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Leading by example, yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think Retta had mentioned too earlier in the chat. I think somebody said earlier that they had did that before, and that's what caused them to cut out cable and different things like that. So I think it's true. I think it is a good exercise to go through. And I've done that before too, and decided, okay, it's like when you see a cable, for sure is one of the ones that kind of stick out, and you're like, okay, do I really need that? You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to make Netflix work. You know, it's gonna have to do it, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a great exercise, very eye-opening. So just some really, really good insight. So I think that is it for the question and answer session. We can go to the next.
Yes.
All right. So we're coming close to the close. We're getting close to the end, which we hate for it to end, because I think if we could probably all ask questions over and over and over, right? It's like so much stuff to talk about.
Thank you so much.
But I can tell you, yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate you. I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say thank you so much for having me on. This has been fun. And to Madam President, that's awesome that you know that number. And so I'm sure she's going to chip away at that. You know, she's going to probably take $200 and put it in the fund account. I mean, you know, think about it like, hey, do I really need Netflix and Hulu? You know, and really quick tip, think about family plans on some of these. If you have college students and all that, see if you're paying $12 and she's paying $12, you guys may want to share a subscription. So that's just a thought. You can do that. You can share a subscription because you can cut that off.
Yep, absolutely. It's so funny you mentioned that. I had a friend of mine I just did that with on a subscription plan who hadn't thought about it before, but she was like, you know, we could cut it in half, and she just sends half of it to me every month on like Venmo or whatever. And it's like, okay, it's fine. We share where it was going to be $25. It's just $12. So it's a great idea that I had not thought of before. So, but anyway, so we want to thank you. Definitely want to thank you on behalf of President Sonia Irby, First Vice President Retta Washington McCoy, Kimberly Thomas Grant, who is our Economic Empowerment Chair, the entire Economic Empowerment Committee. We really want to thank you, Candy, for doing this presentation and for sharing your knowledge. I want to just reiterate what you said about your complimentary financial assessment. So anybody can go on. We have her information here as well too. I did get down there and find out all the ways to reach you. So just go on, and I'm sorry, say again, go onto the website.
Yeah, go onto the website, click on appointments, and it's going to ask you, do you want to do virtual, phone call, or in person? Select whichever one, and we'll meet and we'll do the assessment.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. That's enticing and that's exciting. Just to be able to do that one-on-one assessment, it's invaluable. Just be able, like you said, sometimes you just don't have that person just to talk to. You know, a lot of times we feel a certain way about money, and we don't have other people that we can talk to in our circle that kind of maybe feel the same way we do, right? So just having that time to have a one-on-one with somebody, that's invaluable. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So what I wanted to mention here is, again, to thank you guys for joining us today. But if you did join us as well on this past Thursday, which was December 16th, you will be entered in a drawing to win the free Family Finance 101 bundle. This includes 2 financial consultations. So again, that sitting down with that financial coach like you were talking about, this one is called, he was a previous presenter of ours, DJ, the Money Coach. So if you were on the session on the 16th, and then as well as today on the 18th, we will enter you into the drawing, and then we'll contact you to let you know if you've won. But everything that you see here is included in that family finance bundle. That's the digital course. It's 2 consultations with DJ the Money course, DJ the Money coach. He has 6 ebooks, just awesome presenter. If you haven't seen it, it's on live on our, the recording is on our Facebook page where you could see the presentation from him as well. So we again want to thank you for joining us through all of our sessions at Sister Nomic. So we appreciate you for that. And hopefully you'll win the bundle. We'll let everybody know who wins it. And then finally, we want to go ahead with our next steps and our call to action. Again, thank you for joining us. But some of the things we just want you to consider, right, is how are you going to do things differently moving forward? You know, what's that going to look like? We talked a lot about a budget and what that looks like in the future for you. So we really want you to leave and put some thought into that. How are you going to motivate yourself? Like, what does that look like? Candy talked a lot about mindset and having that right mindset in terms of credit. She shared with us all of the different things that are important when it comes to credit. So it's about that self-motivation, that mindset. And again, Candy is offering us that assessment. So take advantage of that just to start. And then finally, because we are NC100BW, we are all about advocacy. So how can you advocate for others, right? How can you go and share this forward with your friends and family members, other Black women? Share the information that you've learned today in terms of saving for rainy days and any of the information that you've learned. I want to also, let you know that here we are. Like I said, we're advocating for this, Sister Nomics. We love everything that, we've been happy to share all of this with you, but these are the ways to find us online. So I love the fact that we have this, the code here that you can just scan, and it's all of the ways that you can find us online. All of the replays of these programs will also be on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll be able to see it there. And these are all the ways to find us and to be able to contact us and find out more about all of our upcoming programs and to support the advocacy work that we're doing here as well. So I want to turn it over to Madam First VP for any final remarks as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Coalition Sister Mosley, and particularly Coalition Sister Martin. This has been wonderful. I was present at your last presentation workshop that you did for us, and you have outdone yourself. I was like, this was great. There is honestly nothing else that I think I need to say. Coalition Sister Mosley has done a great job wrapping us up. We do want to thank you all for joining us for our Sister Nomic series, and we do wish each and every one of you an amazing holiday season. Please spend time with your families, decompress, and enjoy the end of this year. We'll be back with you in the 2022 year with more programming, more advocacy, and more to come from the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Dallas Metropolitan Chapter. Thank you and have a great Saturday.